Hello, everyone, and welcome to the iWoman Report. I'm Cathleen Trigg-Jones, coming to you live from our iWoman Broadcast Center in New York City. All right, we're 3 months into the Biden-Harris administration, and America just might be heading into a more equal future after all. I think we can all agree that 2020 and 2021 just might have been the most traumatic years for many of us. Let's see, a global pandemic and months of civil unrest. I think we as a country deserve a break. But with women leading the way, America's future might be brighter. This is a trend that we at iWoman TV fully support. Like Michelle Obama said, no country can ever truly flourish if it stifles the potential of its women and deprives itself of the contributions of half of its citizens. So in today's episode, we are diving into the power of women in politics. And that brings us to our question of the day. When you hear the words women in politics, tell me, who is the first person that comes to mind? I want you to write your answer in the comments section below. Of course, you can always hit us up also on our social media at iWoman TV. All right, less than 24 hours after Derek Chauvin was found guilty on 3 counts of murder resulting in the death of George Floyd, I can't help but be thankful for the young 17-year-old girl, Darnella Frazier. You remember her. She's the one who pulled out her cell phone. She had the gumption to stand up and do something and record George's final moments. I remember speaking with her attorney right after George Floyd was murdered, and she was having such a difficult time dealing with what she had witnessed, as well as the shockwaves that her single act caused around the world. But I am so inspired this week as I think about the fact that because of her, history was changed. It just takes one. But we have a lot to be thankful for and to thank women for. We've been showing up and showing out in every industry, and especially politics. Over this past year, it's evident that women have been and have been making strides in politics and social change globally. And we have some great guests lined up for you today. I'm super excited to bring on my dear friend, New York City mayoral candidate, Ray McGuire, a little later, who has a platform full of women's initiatives if he is elected the next mayor of New York City. But first, I want to bring on Raven Robinson, our featured guest for this week's Power of Women in Politics. Now, you're a political strategist, and you also consult on business strategy. And this book is really interesting to me as a business owner and someone who does so much work with other badass boss ladies who are trying to claw their way to the top. Tell me some of the strategies, that we as women in particular could learn from reading your book.
One of the main strategies that I'm excited for women to learn about the book is not just focusing on your service or your product, but focusing on yourself as a public figure. A lot of times we vote for elected officials because they have certain issues or things that we connect with. So teaching business owners how to do that same thing. You may not be trying to invoke people to vote for you, but your call to action is for them to buy your service or buy your product.
Can you talk about some of the powerhouse clients that you've represented?
Sure. So one of the clients that I've worked with is a Assembly member, former Assembly member Michael Blake. Really working with him, and one of the things that I respect about him is that he's never missed a core group. I think a lot of times elected officials, a lot of people feel like they're one-sided, like, oh, they're always doing things in this community, or they're always doing things here. I remember being brought on as a consultant, and the first thing he said to me is, my inauguration needs to have multiple events because I need to be able to hit every demographic. So on Friday, we hosted a youth summit. On Saturday, we had a job summit for, middle-aged professionals. On Sunday morning, we did a church service, and then we did a senior event with MC Light that following MLK Day. And we did a formal gala for all of his political friends. And this was all in the same weekend. And for me, although it may have been more work than one formal inauguration, it was very just heartfelt because I was so happy and passionate that this elected official wanted to hit every mark and wanted to have an event that swayed to every demographic within his community and his constituency. That was really important.
Listen, Raven, I just want to thank you for taking time out for the iWoman Report. You're fabulous. I want everyone to pick up a copy of your book. This book is called Your Campaign, A Business Owner's Guide to Understanding Public Relations. You can get it on Amazon. Make sure you follow Raven Robinson, and make sure you come back, and I'm going to hold you to bringing us those business tips every week.
I would love to. I'm looking forward to coming back.
Okay. God bless. All right, as we are approaching the 101-year mark of women's suffrage in America, it's important to recognize the moves that we have been making with that power. Women have proven that we have the power to control U.S. politics when we work together. Like Georgia State Minority Leader Stacey Abrams, along with the help of her organization, Fair Fight, together, they have been an active force in educating people of color on their voice and how to actualize their political power.
We believe that the work fighting against voter suppression, not only in Georgia, but in places like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, in Michigan and Arizona and Nevada, that this was incredibly instrumental. In fact, if you talk to the leaders of those parties, the leaders of those voter protection operations, they will tell you that, yes, we had new voters, but we had voters who had been precluded from participating in 2016, who had an opportunity to show up in 2020 and make a difference. And we know absolutely in Georgia that there was a sea change because we were able to push back against some of the most egregious voter suppression in the nation. And the result was that we were able to deliver 16 electoral college votes for a Democratic nominee for the first time in 28 years. And a few weeks later, we were able to flip 2 U.S. Senate seats.
Well put, Stacey, and I agree that leadership isn't just about getting your way. The power of women in politics is a life-changing power for all of us. Once women realized we had the ability to change and make changes within politics, it happened. Vice President Kamala Harris made it a point to appoint women to accompany her for her next 4 years in office. This is the first time in U.S. history the top 3 positions in the vice president's office are all held by women. You've got this, ladies.
The all-female communications team that will be at the White House. Now we're hearing from the Vice President-elect that she will have an all-female group of senior staff. And it's the first time that the top positions in the Vice President's office will be held by all women.
These ladies, along with President Biden's all-female communications team, are the changes we've been waiting for. And finally, they're coming. Now, no one understands that more than our next guest, Ray McGuire, who is determined to change government as New York City's next mayor. Now, New York City is heating up with this mayoral election just 7 months away, and there is a lot on the line with this election. Ray, I'm so excited to have you on the iWoman Report today. And before you even come in, I just want to talk about all this female power that's joined forces behind the scenes with you. I'm reading an article today in Essence that says Mary J. Blige, Misty Copeland, Naomi Campbell, and more Black women support New York City mayoral hopeful Ray McGuire. How does that feel?
That feels great. It kind of feels normal because this is my crew. If I think about every step of my life, those people who have informed my life, who guided me, who give me the wisdom, who chastised me along the way, it is all women. And so I give a shout out and respect to my 95-year-old mother, my 95-year-old mother-in-law, my extraordinary better three-quarters wife, and all of the women who are leading our campaign, leading my campaign. I'm quite grateful and clearly admiring and respectful. They made me who I am.
I love hearing you speak, and I've attended several of your talks and have just seen the way that you operate, and I'm happy, personally, to just say that this is the man that you are. Behind the scenes and in front of the camera. I've heard you say that over and over. I don't think I've ever been in a room where you and Crystal, your wife, were together, where you didn't introduce her as your better half. In fact, as you said, 3/4 of your better half. And I really appreciate that because this year really is an important year for women. It's an important year for Blacks. But women right now are making such an impact, such a difference in our world. And you've surrounded yourselves with really powerful women. Talk to me though about your agenda. How are you supporting the female voice in your bid for mayor?
First of all, it's important to acknowledge that. But second of all, let's also acknowledge that which we have known, not only in a year of campaign, in a year of COVID, but the anchor, the foundation to our community is women. And so at every moment in time, when we get to celebrate the excellence that is our culture, that is our people, at the foundation, at the core of that is women. And so it's not new for me to celebrate. I celebrate it every day. And I'm elated that others maybe have now come to the conversation. It's not a new conversation. If you look at the number of women who you've identified today, I think it's maybe more than 200 women who've signed up, Women
Yeah.
for Ray. That's because how we live. This is not new. This is how we live. This is our lives. And every step of our life is informed again by women. So it's great to acknowledge it, but we ought to acknowledge this every single day.
Right. What will your cabinet look like?
What will it look like? It'll look like every opportunity that I've had to make certain that I've had the best and the brightest. There have been women who've been included in that. If I look at my leadership out of the depths of the financial crisis, I've been advised by my side by women, by extraordinary women. So as I think about the lineup, the team that's going to help me lead the greatest, most inclusive by design, most inclusive economic comeback in the history of this city, women will be at the core.
Ray, we're coming off of, as you said, a really difficult economic time in New York City. And if you look at New York City as a microcosm of our country, in fact, of our world, New York City is in trouble right now. You walk these streets and it just doesn't look the same. There's the homelessness like we've never seen before. We're back to seeing some of the things that we saw in the 80s and the 90s on the streets in New York City. And what will you do to clean up the city and get us back to business as usual?
First of all, we need to acknowledge that during this COVID time, again, it comes to women. Women have been disproportionately impacted by COVID. If you think about those who are the primary caregivers, it's women. Upon very short notice, we decided to close the schools. Women had to make the decision as to whether or not they are going to leave their children at home, whether or not they're going to go to their jobs. It is an unfair choice, but women had to make it. And for the most part, they made the choice to be with their children. Again, another example of how women are standing up and standing out. Going forward, we need to make sure that those who are the most disproportionately hit are the ones and for whom we focus the most of our attention, to help them recover, to help them participate and be included. And my comeback plan is designed specifically for that, especially Black and brown men and women businesses. Go big, go small, go forward. And go forward is to make certain that they're included in the comeback, intentionally by design. So what they should expect from my administration is to not only have a seat at the table where they're advising me, but they should also expect that when the contracts are handed out, as their businesses are formed and well organized and well structured, they're going to be the beneficiaries of that by design. They've been excluded for so long.
And that's really important that you say that, because it's not just about having an opportunity or saying that you have an opportunity. The Minority Women Business Exchange, MWBE, is something that I know that you've, in some of what I've read, you want to work closely to make sure those contracts do go to women. But as a business owner and as a mother, and I worked all the way through my children growing up, it's one thing to say that these opportunities are going to be available. It's another to ensure that they actually go in the right hands. And I'm happy to hear you say that that's going to be a priority for you.
So let me explain something to you here. And I say this across the spectrum, but especially for women. We have been outside for so long that when they give us crumbs, they expect us to feel full. I'm not interested in the crumbs. Matter of fact, I'm not interested in the cake. I'm interested in us owning the bakeries. And so we need to make certain that we have the investment, we have the focus, we have the intentionality, We have the capital that we know how to allocate because we know how the numbers work to make certain that women are included. I don't want the crumbs. I don't want the cake. I want them to own the bakeries.
We want to own the bakery,
make
Ray.
certain, I want to make certain that women get paid. Full stop. Let me be clear.
Amen. And I'm writing this down just in case we forget. No, that's really what it's all about. And it's not just women, it's men, it's our city, it's restoring faith in everyone. But we have been disadvantaged for a very long time. And so it's great to have that be the focus. Now, this is a heavily contested race. A lot of people want to be mayor of New York City. It's got to be the hottest seat, on the globe right now. What makes you best qualified? And I just want to point out also that you stepped down from a really, really important position at City in order to make this your priority. Why?
I love this city, but let me tell you a little about stepping down. On October the 15th of 2020, I called my 95-year-old mother and told her that I'd quit my job. She says, "Boy, you have lost your mind." She said, I thought you had a good paying job. And I said, "Yes, Mama, but at a point in time when the city that I love is going through the crisis in which it's going through, I need to step up." And why is that? This city has given me everything. It is where I met my wife, Crystal, where we're raising our 3 children, Leo, who's 8, Ella, who's 18, who's just been admitted to the college of her choice, and Cole, who's 20, who drafted first round into the NBA and now is the starting point guard for the Orlando Magic. This city's been great to me personally and professionally. When I came into the city, I had 3 things. I had a great education, I had a lot of debt, and I had no money. So it has given me the opportunity to come and compete in one of the most competitive fields that exist and to knock down doors. And while doing so, make certain that I open the door for others. So I have been able to give more jobs and more opportunity, get people promoted, get them compensated, and created more wealth than all the other candidates combined. And so I come with my lived experiences. I come with what I've been able to accomplish in business at a moment in time when the city that we love is under siege. And as you know, we do things for the people and the places that we love so deeply. So I love this city. And I come to this, I haven't been termed out. I'm not looking for a promotion. I have not served in any administration. And I say that to say that many of the others who are in this race had their chance. They had their chance, and it's time for them to move on because they haven't performed. New Yorkers want something different. They want to change. They want somebody who's got credibility, who's got a track record of having led and managed, who has the ability to bring this city together.
I like that a lot. So Ray, I want to fast forward a little bit because you can hear your agenda anywhere, but on iWoman TV, I want to hear a little bit about the things that people may not really harp on in your interviews. Our focus really is on how we're moving women forward and how women are moving the universe forward. I first of all want to publicly just say that you have my endorsement. You've had it from the second you said that you were running for mayor. Actually, the second your wife said, will you support my husband?
It's my wife.
Hell yes. Yes, because a happy wife is a happy life.
Lord
Tell me
have
what
mercy.
that statement right there means to you.
My honey-do list is full. I get that thing done. But listen, I say that with humor. My wife is extraordinary. She has written 3 books. She has done a number of documentaries. She has done the past few documentaries for Legal Defense Fund, which is, as you know, is the organization on whose shoulders we all stand.
Absolutely.
She's done feature films. And on top of all that, she is an extraordinary mother. And I'm not certain how she gets it all done, but she gets it done with style and grace and humor and with a magnificent style. I mean, just a magnificent sense of humor and an extraordinary smile. And she happens to be beautiful. So a happy wife is a happy life, but I'm a happy man. I couldn't be happier. I am a blessed man.
You are.
People ask me how I met my wife. Listen, time stopped when I met my wife. Time stopped. And so I'm so blessed and fortunate to have Crystal as my wife and to have our family. There's no greater blessing. They ask me, what should my legacy be? What is that about which I'm most proud? It's my family. And it's my wife, and clearly it's my mother.
So my second favorite woman in your life happens to be your mother, who I have not personally met, but we have a bit of a connection where your mother brought in foster children from Shawan Acres in Dayton, Ohio, right? You were raised with a lot of foster children?
Yes, my mother and my grandparents raised me and my two brothers, and at any point in time, we had half a dozen foster children in our home. I didn't know my dad. As my mother tells the story, on occasion she had to work 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. And my mother eventually turned her career into being a social worker. So this has been a life of service. And my mother made the sacrifices so that I could get an education, and so that my 2 older brothers were well taken care of, and working with my grandparents and serving as parents to our foster brothers and sisters. So my mother's been on the front line clearly since I've known her, as a single Black woman in a time when that was less popular. And the words that they must have referenced during that time of my single Black mother. And she not only endured, but she prevailed. Without that woman, I wouldn't be.
Wow. Well, I pay homage to your mom and for making you the man you are. I was an orphan at that orphanage in Dayton, Ohio, and I was blessed to be adopted when I was just about 2 years old. But I always, because of those who came along and gave to all the little babies that needed, I just have a special place in my heart for your mom. So I hope I'm blessed to meet her one day. But if not, then I meet her son, and I support you 100%. And I want to see this happen for you. What can we do to get behind you?
Well, first of all, you can continue to be your magnificent, brilliant, regal self. We need that. We need to have you continue to represent the best that exists anywhere. I want to be clear, anywhere. So we have so much respect and admiration for you and for your audience, which is as informed and as sophisticated as it gets. We need for them to spread the word about my candidacy and about the intent, the expectations I have for myself, and the fact that I want them to hold me accountable for the things that I say I'm going to get done. I want to be held accountable, including and especially making certain that I got the best and brightest amongst us who happen to be women on my team, leading the effort of the greatest, most inclusive comeback. This comes down to name recognition. And if anybody's got a big enough microphone and visibility, it's you and your audience, which is so well respected and so highly informed. So that's what you can do. And we need, a couple of dollars on the side would be very helpful as we get that message out. But it's word of mouth that gets our message out and tells the people that for which I stand, the principles that have guided my life, and what they should know is my truth ain't changing. I don't have to remember tomorrow what we talked about today, because it ain't changing.
So thank you so much, Ray. And I guess we'll be seeing you soon. Oh, real quick, what is the next deadline that people need to be aware of?
There's absentee voting, but June 22nd is the deadline. We vote on June 22nd. Get out to vote. June 22, rank me number 1.
Yeah, like you've never voted.
Like you never, but if you have any doubt, rank me number 2. Okay? So that's what's up.
Well, Ray, I just want to thank you so much for being who you are. You do have a beautiful family. I love your wife dearly, and I wish you the absolute best. If there's anything that we can do in addition to everything that you've laid out, it sounds like we have our marching orders, but you got us.
Thank you. I so deeply appreciate you, and I'm grateful to be with you, especially with you and your audience, who is so admired and so respected.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and go do you, okay?
You've got it, Ray. Well, whether it's the New York City race or any of the other political races around the country, I can't stress enough the importance of women, everyone actually, getting out and exercising your right to vote. As we've seen, change is possible, but change does not happen by sitting around and talking about the problems. Ladies, we've got to get out and vote. And that brings me to my thought of the day. Recently, I had a rather heated conversation, I guess you could say, with a male friend who I respect dearly. And he was feeling some kind of deep-seated emotions about this whole feminist and women's equality movement and he wanted to know why women hate men so much. And I had to correct him. I don't speak for all women, but I definitely speak for myself and many others who I know are watching when I say that being in support of women has nothing to do with hating men. In fact, it's just the opposite. I love and respect men so much, especially my husband, my brothers, my dad, and my sons, and the many male friends who've lifted me up my entire life. But we as women have a fight on our hands like none other. We as women have been fighting to be heard, fighting to be seen, and fighting to be taken seriously our entire lives. We've been viewed as second-class citizens since the beginning of time, trying to claw our way to the top of a system that was never designed to allow us to get there. Why? Why should a woman who is equally smart, equally skilled, equally qualified be reduced to believing that she's supposed to sit back and stay quiet and be cute? When was the decision made that a woman and a man doing the exact same job don't deserve the exact same pay? Who made that decision? And who made the decision that little girls should do little girl things and little boys should do everything else? And at what point was the decision made that a woman cannot be as effective a world leader as a man? As women supporting women, we don't hate men. We hate inequality. I'm fighting for a world where our daughters and our sons, their daughters and their sons, will grow up equally believing that they can do and be anything just because the playing field is equal. And to all the men who support us and are strong enough in their own skin to not be intimidated by a woman having her moment to shine, thank you. All right, and on that note, that is going to do it for this iWoman Report. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please continue to follow us on social media at iWoman TV, and make sure you send us your comments and check out our expanding content library at iWoman.tv and iWomanTV.tv. And as always, everyone, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe.